I can't believe that I'm almost 2 months into this. I'm still having trouble sleeping. Dead tired, can't go to sleep. Sure that'll make some people watching happy. Whatever. I doubt my soon-to-be ex-wife is one of them. She hasn't watched any of this yet. So, the thing that keeps bothering me is... So, my diagnoses, I'm going back to that. This, of course, is not going to be a short. It's almost a minute. Anyway, close enough. It's almost a minute. And there's too much to say for that short amount of time. Okay, so I was diagnosed with ADHD in 1994. I think it was 94, somewhere around there. And, sorry, I got a lot of indigestion. Anyway, well, when they did that, there's almost no knowledge of ADHD. That's why it's called ADHD. It's actually a misnomer. So ADHD was largely believed to be just you're hyper, can't sit still, can't focus. That's way far from ADHD. Actually, if you look up on Facebook and I think TikTok, Connor DeWolf, DEWOLF, he talks a lot about ADHD, and a lot of people with ADHD actually get accused of being narcissists. That's because a lot of the symptoms overlap. The big difference is the driver's kind of like borderline personality disorder and narcissism. And of course, I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. That actually bothers me. That's what I actually want to talk about. But, of course, chronic or continuous, however you want to look at it. I've heard it said both ways. Anyway, PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. CPTSD is just like PTSD, except PTSD is one or two or a handful of traumatic events that caused you, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. There are a lot of triggers that go along with that. Sorry, my throat's really dry. Anyway, CPTSD is actually continuous trauma over a long period of time. And seems to me that that's the hardest one to get over. Then, of course, severe depression. That one's a little easier to understand. A lot of these symptoms that I exhibit for severe depression didn't even exist until I got married. Until almost 4 years ago. I never once thought about putting a gun in my mouth. Since then, that's all I've thought about. Well, I won't say all I've thought about, but there hasn't been a day gone by yet that I haven't. Don't worry, I'm getting therapy. I got 4 kids that, even if I can't see them, they're relying on me to still be alive. Plus various other responsibilities. I wish I had a drink right now. Anyway, so borderline personality disorder. The way it looks from the outside is very similar to narcissism, because, and I've explained this before, so narcissism, they do the things that they do for fear of not looking as good as they want to look, because they're very insecure about themselves. They have to look better than they feel they are. Borderline personality disorder people with that, the things they do for fear of abandonment. We don't try to make ourselves look better. We just try to make ourselves feel better. And that doesn't, I don't think that really makes it better as far as interactions with people. Because the behaviors are still toxic. I mean, it's bad for relationships. Unfortunately, those symptoms don't really go away. We just learn how to manage them. Lee Hammock, he's a narcissist. He was diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. He's a good example of somebody who feels the need to exhibit those symptoms, but manages himself so he can either utilize them as tools to make himself better, or he can create workarounds so he doesn't exhibit those toxic behaviors. Something I'm trying to learn how to do. A lot of people are like, oh, let's not get so focused on labels and so on. But honestly, until you really know what it is, because the name isn't what's important. It's why the behaviors associated with that name happen. I honestly don't even know why it's called borderline personality disorder. I guess it's something I need to look up. Maybe one of y'all can tell me. Anyway, maybe what I was saying. Oh, yeah. Getting therapy. So my therapist actually wants to focus mostly right now on the CPTSD and severe depression. And the reason for that is those are actually life-threatening. And the reason they're life-threatening is because one of the symptoms of those two, especially in my case combined, is an intense desire to die by any means necessary. I do have a lot of firearms. Well, I say a lot of firearms, it's relative, I guess. I live in East Texas. There are a lot of firearms, and there are a lot of firearms. Anyway, and so my counselor, I keep saying therapist, she's actually a licensed counselor, keeps telling me, or tried to tell me, I won't say keeps telling me, tried to tell me, hide all my guns. Get somebody to put them in a place where I can't find them. But that wouldn't really help. If somebody wants to no longer exist, the human body can take a lot of punishment. But it's also really easy to end it. It doesn't take much. I mean, honestly, you could use a stick off of the ground. It wouldn't take much. Even if I was put in a straitjacket, it still wouldn't stop me. Just change how I need to do it. So, the conclusion I've come to is taking away the tools to do the job doesn't really keep the job from getting done. Especially with somebody who knows 1,000 different ways to end a life. And, again, it's not actually hard. But you gotta take away the desire to do it. That's really hard to do when that is one of the most important things on your mind right now. For me, it's I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around what's going on. Like I said before, on an intellectual level, I understand it. But I can't get my brain to process the fact that what has been normal for 16 years is not. How do I reconcile the woman that I slept with, held, nursed back to health several times? let cry on my shoulder when bad things happened or family members died. How do I can reconcile that with a person who actively hates me? Anyway, I'm getting off track. So, anyway, that's part of it. But really, it's hard not to look at the things that I've done in my past, and this is the really big thing. I had to come face to face with my special brand of, well, I won't say special brand, but my particular brand of darkness, twistedness, whatever you want to say. I'm sure that there's people out there that can come up with colorful adjectives. I don't want to curse the world anymore by living. But the only thing that keeps me going right now is obligation. I don't really have much to live for. I really don't. In the next couple of months, it could very well be that I'm not even allowed to see my children anymore. Everything that I've ever worked for and the people I loved the most in this entire world be as though they never even existed. Like it was all a dream that you never wanted to wake up from. It's hard to live with that. Sorry, twinge in my back. But that, and I've got some projects underway that other people are waiting on. Obligation is the only thing keeping me alive right now. And that's actually not necessarily bad, but it's not really good. Because the object is to not want to stop existing. The idea is to not want to stop existing. But until you can get to that point, you have to find something stronger than your will to end it. There are a lot of people who have ended their lives for much more and much less, and many of them had obligations that were waiting on them. They just couldn't handle it anymore. Sorry. It's dry air. I don't know how it got so dry. It rained like mad for a month, and now the air's so dry, my sinuses feel like a desert. Anyway, back to the borderline personality disorder. I keep asking myself questions in my mind. Okay, so narcissists are people who are so destructively toxic that unless they are getting help and being trained on how to manage their own mental and emotional states, their society would be better off without them. They destroy human beings. They will take their minds and their hearts and absolutely rip them apart, leaving nothing behind except a hollow husk of a person. But borderlines can generate so much frustration in other people that they just no longer want to be around them. The question keeps coming up is, despite the fact that people with borderline personality disorder are different, their drivers are different, their reasons are different, Their needs are even different. Because they're so toxic. Are they as bad as narcissists? Even though I know I'm not a narcissist, because I got tested, am I still as bad as a narcissist? I'm not able to answer that question. I don't know if my counselor can either. There have been a few questions that I've asked my counselor that she's been unable to answer. I have to admit, I am absolutely terrified that I might be one who breaks people. I mean, I've seen evidence. My cousin, my wife. I mean, I don't know if she's a narcissist or not. She shows a whole lot of symptoms of narcissistic personality disorder, but is that my fault? Was she always like that? Or did I do that? Did I break her so much that as a defense mechanism, her brain started making her behave that way? Is it my fault? And furthermore, if after this is all done, somewhere down the road, I get to the point where I am ready for another relationship, would that person be better off having never met me? Would the world be better with less of me in it? Whether I am alive or not, would the world be better with less of me in it? I don't know. Not a whole lot of things in this world scare me. I have gone through a lot of stuff. Even before what I did when I was 14. Some of my earliest memories were just plain messed up. Anyway, having said that, borderline personality disorder actually scares me. Because I'm scared of the idea of being a narcissist. And I'm having a hard time convincing myself that borderline personality disorder isn't just, a hop, skip, and a jump away from it. Narcissists break people. They destroy people. And if borderline personality disorder is borderline narcissist, that means I destroy people, whether I want to or not. I don't think I can handle that. Well, whether you have a condition or not, whether you're a borderline narcissist or just normal, look inside yourself, find all the things that are broken inside. Do your best, absolute best, to change how you act, given the information you learn. And just be better.